Hi everyone, please welcome our today's guest Atul Dodia, who is one of India's most acclaimed post-colonial artists. Hi everyone, please welcome our today's guest Atul Dodia, who is one of India's most acclaimed post-colonial artist who refuses to confine himself to a box neatly labeled with a national identity. His location in India serves him as a base from which to intervene in variety of cultural and political histories to which a post-colonial self is held. Welcome to KRVIA Encounters.
So you can share your content now, sir.
Shall I have to press it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Hello. Can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Just can you? I am just now sending your presentation online.
Okay.
Yes. So you can begin.
Right. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me for this talk, and it's going to be a tough thing for me because in 40 to 45 minutes to put together my large body of work and share with you is difficult, but still kind of I will manage with a few works from early period till 2015, and let's see. So first of all, I hope that I have not given any misconception about while giving a title called Meditation with Open Eyes, and I'm sure no one will imagine that or think that it's some yoga class or something. So that one thing I was thinking about. But basically, when you say, when I say meditation with open eyes, I mean that, what happens when you're looking at a painting? You get involved, if the painting is beautiful, if you like it, then you almost forget yourself for a few moments. I think that itself is a kind of a meditation. When you are working, when you are painting, what happens? When you are creating something, it happens, that you start with so many ideas and concept and people and history and your own past, etc. But then in the process, you get so much involved, and that involvement and that forgetting one's own self, I think that is something more valuable and important. So, and as a student of architecture, I can imagine, at least as far as painting is concerned, or a visual art is concerned, you see it and that's it. But in architecture, the whole body is engaged. You're moving into the space, and that space, the way it's been constructed, the way it has been structured, the way it has been kind of conceived, with walls or whatever building. It's a very, very unique experience. Of course, this I learned much later, but I think this is what I mean by, when I say it's a meditation, when you are looking at a painting or and because you're looking, so your eyes are open. Anyway, I was born and brought up in Bombay, and in fact in a suburb called Ghatkopar, where I still live and paint. At the age of 10, I was very clear that I want to be a painter and nothing else. So, but also there was a time when in 72, when there was, Doordarshan started, Bombay Doordarshan, they were showing some films on Saturdays, alternate Saturdays, regional films and some European cinema, good cinema. And we were all fond of cinemas, at home. But when I saw the movies which were shown there, they were very different. Started from, say, I would name one filmmaker, Satyajit Ray, and then there were European filmmakers, Italian, German, French, etc. And I felt this is something with different cinema. It gave me so much joy, and the whole idea of entertainment. And there is a difference between entertainment and the joy. So I felt a tremendous amount of joy in these movies. And there was a time when I was about 15 that I thought that should I become a painter or should I become a filmmaker? Anyway, then but I realized that as a cinema is an expensive medium, it's a difficult medium in the sense that you work with so many people, etc. And but painting, or a drawing, you just take a notebook and a pencil and sit in a corner, and you can create a universe. So I felt that this is something I should go on, because I was very good at drawing and painting, achieving likeness and realism, etc., etc. So that's how it started. But the thing, what happened with me, that my elder sister, she insisted that I should not do painting because there is no future in it. You will starve, and difficult to survive just on painting. And she told that I should go to architecture because my father was a civil contractor, and he was very open. He said, he should be doing what he wants to do. So because of my sister, I was an old SSC. That was an 11th standard SSC, and I was forced to take maths and physics, chemistry. I was very poor in maths and couldn't manage that subject, and I failed twice in my SSC. In those 2 years, which was like a vacation, my father gave me first class railway local train pass from Ghatkopar to Veti to go to Jahangir Art Gallery, and I could see the exhibitions. And then, of course, then the 10th standard SSC was coming, so I was given 35 marks and I was passed, and I went to JG School of Art. And from there it started, and I was very, very passionate and involved in what I was doing. I was looking at Indian artists from the past, ancient art, contemporary art, modern art, and I realized that I love anything which is visual. So the cinema hoardings, in those days, the Bombay city would have all the hoardings and banners, advertisement, hand painted by film stars and set about on the films. So how they were rendered, how they were painted, I would look at all those things. And in those days, there was no internet, so no connection with world art. But of course, we knew artists like Van Gogh and Rembrandt and Da Vinci, and of course Picasso, Matisse, etc. So I would find the books or some magazine on the street of Fountain, and buy those books and look at the reproductions, and that's how it started. So I think what is important is that you have to see and experience everything. I mean, yeah, I was told that my problem, my teachers and other colleagues were saying that my problem is that I'm looking too much of other people's art. But I feel if I don't see, forget my own art, I will be deprived of so many great things, great experience. So I just never listen to anyone, and I always feel one should be doing what one strongly feel, from within, and follow that path or whatever notion. Otherwise, one gets diverted in diverse way. So essentially, basically, whatever you are studying, whatever you're doing, you should love it. And if you don't have that love or passion and zeal for those subject, then might as well just live it. Don't pursue. So that's how I started. I was at the, good at the art school. I was awarded fellowship and I was teaching there. After my this thing, 1 year I taught and then I left it, and then been at this since those days I have been painting. But as I said, cinema, there's a literature also has played a major role. You know, essentially I used to read Gujarati. I'm a Gujarati, so I used to read Gujarati modern poets and writers, and would imagine how they think and how they write and how they perceive certain experience and translate into their creative work. You know, I would try to kind of not to kind of judge or understand anything, but just kind of it was such a strong feeling to grab, to get it. So that also has played a role into my development as an artist. So now I'm showing you, some works which are from 1989 onwards. I'm starting with this large paintings. Majority of works are oil on canvas. They are large scale, 6 feet by 4 feet, 8 feet by 6 feet, like that. And this, I thought it would be nice to start with this empty room. I had an image, a figure, a boy sitting in the threshold in this painting. But in the process, I realized no need, because I am not showing a single cloud. There's only horizon, of the sea line, and except for the doormat, there is no human presence of any kind. So this darkness is in fact is more, evocative, and it speaks a lot. So I removed that figure, the boy, from the painting, and you see this empty room. So this is where we'll start. And next, please. Can one second, please. It's not moving the image. Sorry, can you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So then, as I said, that there was no exposure from the outside world, and um, but luckily I got a French government scholarship in 1991-92. I went to Paris. I saw great art from the West, and all these things which I knew, they were all in small reproduction. And as you know, the painting, sculpture, installation, all these things you have to actually experience, the real object. And in books and reproductions, you don't get an idea. You can imagine, of course, the scale and the medium is given, so you just visualize. But here, for the first time in the city of Paris, I saw from pre-Renaissance to post-modern, all kind of arts. And I got so baffled, and I felt that I call myself a figurative painter, and within the figurative genre, such a profound work has happened. So I just felt that what I'm doing is something, it's banal. It's okay, nothing special. And I was just staying 5 minutes away from Picasso Museum, and when I saw Picasso, I felt that this man has attempted so many things and so many different medium and different style. He was not afraid of anything, and I got scared of his fearlessness. He was amazing, and I felt that okay, since he was already such a well-known in early 20th century, world-famous artist who gave us cubism and a great way of thinking in a different way, when he is not afraid of experimenting and trying out things, who am I? Nobody knows me. I'll just simply do it, what I want to do. So when I came back in 92, and I felt that it's I'm going to do what I feel like doing. I won't care what my seniors or the other artists whom I knew so well, senior artists, well-known artists, I would just do it the way I feel like. So this is a letter from father. Now, majority of my work as stories or a specific experience. And if I keep on explaining every painting, it would take very long. But anyway, this particular work is a portrait of my father, and he wrote me many letters when I was in Paris. So this is one of the last letter which came from him to me before I was returning. So I painted his portrait, and I thought that I would like to use the text, how to do it. Now this is very cinematic device. In old films, if you have seen, there are letters is to come and someone is reading a letter and the face would emerge from the letter on the screen. So I thought that something of that sort I would do it. So it's the what I had seen in cinema, which I bring it into flat, non-moving painting. How will it look? So I did it, and I told my father that I like the way you write. So you write a letter, same letter text. But he said that that means this is a 6 feet tall painting. That means my letter has to be 1.5 inch large. That I cannot do it because it would be difficult for me. So I just projected that letter on the canvas, and I was writing. While writing, I saw that I saw my own shadow falling on because the projection was on the back. So I told my brother, just do the contour of myself. So that's how I enter into thing. And then there was something happened that in that particular year, this is around 1994, that there was news in the newspaper in Times of India about that particular year in Bharatpur in Rajasthan, the Siberian cranes, which used to come for years, centuries actually, every year in a specific time period, that particular they didn't come. So these migratory birds were not there, and those who are expert in that area, they were worried that why is it climate change or something? What is the reason? And I felt that okay, I was away and I was returning. It's about that. The text of the letter is also something about that. Or waiting for me to come back. I said I would do this migratory birds on the top. So that's how that was added. It was not at all planned. It was just a portrait of my father, which I wanted to render, and that's how this painting happened. This is called Bombay Buccaneer. Same period, same time. It's there was a movie at that time had come with called Bazigar, and the film star had two actors in his glasses, and I just took that small drawing which was up here as an ad, and I painted instead of two actors, I painted like a James Bond pose, and I painted two painters whom I admire. One British painter, English artist David Hockney, and other is a Bhupen Khatkar. And both has a lot of sense of humor and wit in their work, and they all they both are one of my favorite painters. So I painted this image called Bombay Buccaneer, and it was some sort of a new thing for me because I was never painting a large head of this scale. It was always with a academic style, small scale, full figure, and etc. So this was almost like a poster, which I allowed. Three painters. I mentioned Bhupen Khatkar. This is the man with the white hair. Is Bhupen Khatkar. Bhupen Khatkar and myself looking at René Magritte's surrealist painter from Belgium, a painting by him, which is called Reproduction Prohibited. And we were actually looking at the painting. Another friend was with us. I just told him that just take a picture of both of us because what I noticed that we are wearing jacket. The man in the painting is wearing jacket and he sees himself in the mirror, but he sees his own back. That's very surreal device. So I painted this, but you also see a kind of a pregnant woman on the back of on my back, and that's a Picasso sculpture. And it's often autobiographical, extreme subjectivity could be a part of your way of thinking, because essentially you paint for whom? You're painting for yourself. When you are you do it, and when you feel okay, this is worth sharing, then you go and you call friends, neighbors, family, or larger audience when you exhibit them. So that is the way it should be. So the painting of the sculpture on the back is a pregnant woman by Picasso, and I wanted to come back because my wife was pregnant. My daughter was about to come, and I was very keen to return back to Bombay. And I felt that also art or painting is something which conceals and conceals and reveals simultaneously. And surreal painting of Magritte-like painter, and that to a man looking into the mirror and sees his own back, and the painting is called Reproduction Prohibited. I felt that this is interesting, sort of thing to, how when we see a painting, we see so many things. And then there are hidden things, which is abstraction in terms of subject matter, in terms of treatment, in terms of color, in terms of form, it could be anything. So I felt this is an interesting device to have a very realistic figure standing looking at a painting in the museum, and then suddenly something superimposed. This is called Dadagiri. It's about the German artist Gerhard Richter, whose work also I admire. And there is a, if you can see in the bottom, there is a one of the answers from his one of the interviews which he had talked about, and where he talks about Dadaism. I'm sure Surrealism, Dadaism, Cubism, all you also must be familiar. So, and he is anti, Dadaist gestures or conceptual. He thinks, he still believes that painting has a lot to do. There's so many possibilities, and that you can do in painting, and that too, dealing and creating something with hand matters a lot. So I thought this is a good title as well. And I love the stance, the way he's standing, and the thing. Now this one is 1997 painting. It's called Lamentation. This painting is a very crucial and important painting in my oeuvre. 1997, the year was India's 50 years of freedom, 50th anniversary. We were invited artists for many shows, and about the celebration. And there was one big exhibition happened in Bombay, sponsored by RPG Enterprise at the Jahangir Art Gallery. This is a 6 feet by 8 feet large canvas. And there I thought, because when I returned from 1992 from Paris, I was full of diverse ideas in creativity, in painting, and creating art in a different way. But I returned in October, and in just within 2 months, the Babri Masjid was demolished in the north on the 5th of December, and then we all know what happened. Subsequent riots all over the country. Bombay has seen serial bomb blast in March later in 1993, and there was so much violence, tension, between the communities. Often all these things, I still believe, is politically motivated things, and I feel very sad. But I went on doing Dadagiri and other paintings like Bombay Buccaneer, all these things. But when this happened in '97, this particular exhibition, I thought that, oh, okay, it's a wonderful thing to have freedom and independence. No doubt, 50 years is a great landmark year, but we still have so many problems. Poverty, no education sufficient for poor people. Then there is, no great leadership, and tension between the communities. All this thing, and I said that we have Gandhi everywhere. Probably every third road is MG road. There's his image on the rupee note, government offices, if you go, stamps, and all these things. But Gandhian philosophy of non-violence and his love for fellow human beings, tolerance, etc., is so much important in our time that we have forgotten all that. And then I painted this old man. We see his back on an empty railway platform, and half the painting is divided with Picasso's painting of 1943 during Second World War, that a young girl is learning to walk, and mother's face is sad, child's face is excited, fear, and uh, uh, still kind of learning to walk. And I felt that a young girl, what future she has. Old man is gone, we see his back, and we see this young girl coming towards us. And when I saw the way Picasso painted the eyes of a girl, I thought as if it's the eyes of a goddess Kali. And I felt, she will have to play a role of Kali in future in this country. And now how to convey this? See, now I'm talking, using words and expressing this, but in a painting, how you do that? So I took the image of Shiva from one of the Kali Ghat paintings, which is, well-known icon, which we know that, Kali's image, and under the Shiva's dead body is lying, or Shiva is lying. So that's how she gets converted or turn into Kali. But overall, there are weeping and lamenting angels, which are, I took it from a fresco in Padua in Italy near Venice, where a great master, pre-Renaissance master, Giotto, where you see that, this dead Christ's body is there, and in the sky, these angels were hovering, weeping and lamenting. So though the moment was of celebration, 50 years of independence, I call the work lamentation. And from there, a sort of a new turn, or a sort of a new mode of looking at the world started happening in my work. Yeah, so then, I felt that it's not sufficient to do just one Gandhi painting, but I'm going to have, I should do more about it, and I should talk in a more clearly about what I want to say. And I did a series of large-scale watercolors called, first time I was attempting watercolor, and these are 6 feet by 4 feet large watercolor, and the show was called An Artist of Non-Violence. I came, I was always interested in painting and painters, and how to do the statement, political leader. That was a different subject altogether. It was very difficult to negotiate and come to terms with what I want to, do with Gandhi. But then I came across a statement by Gandhi saying that I am not a seer, rishi, or a philosopher of non-violence. I'm an artist of non-violence, and I try to develop the art of non-violence in the realm of resistance. I said, if he calls himself an artist, then I know very well what to do with an artist. So then I just did a series of paintings, and 14 paintings. I'm just showing 2-3 works from that particular series. The previous one, this one is called A Painful Resolution. And this is called Bapu at Rene Block Gallery, New York, 1974. This is a conceptual artist, Joseph Beuys, a German artist. He had done a performance which was anti-capitalism in America. And I'm not giving you the whole story about that particular performance which he did in the gallery, but he is someone who did gestures and actions. And I thought, in that context, I thought probably Gandhi was the first conceptual artist. If you see his, Gandhi's ashram, the structure of his ashram, his office, his wearing clothing, the use of khadi, Dandi march, lifting the pinch of salt, non-cooperation movement, all these are conceptual ideas, and with which he dealt so beautifully. And there is no job. It's a very fine sort of rhythm in it, the way he did it. So I thought the best way to say that Gandhi is a conceptual artist is by putting him next to Joseph Beuys. So this is the watercolor about Gandhi and Beuys together. Yeah, and after that, you know, it was logical for me to do a painting about common man. And first time I was not doing realism. You saw my father's portrait, my own self-portrait like Buccaneer. You know, then you saw Dadagiri or other Gandhi watercolors. But first time I was abandoning the realism and trying out something new, stylized figuration. There's a female figure standing in the sitting on the map of India, and they were again large scale watercolor, 4 feet by 6 feet, and it was called Tearscape. And there were 10 works, and this is 2, 3 works. This one is called, the first one is Woman with Chakki, Houseboat, Shipwreck, a mad, lunatic woman. I also thought, is it possible for a contemporary artist to do a portrait of a beggar? We see beggars, now less. When I was growing up, in 70s and 80s, there were more, but still. So I said, this is, it's also kind of a bleak portrait of Mother India. We have this Abhinandranath Tagore image of Mother India. We have, the calendar art which we have seen, that, like a goddess Lakshmi or somebody, kind of figure standing. But I thought, I need to talk about these things as well, without sacrificing my visual, pictorial, qualities of a painting. Yeah, but then what, it's not just that the grim part or the gloomy aspect of life which interests me. I love to laugh. I said about Bhupen Thakkar and David Hockney in my earlier paintings. So the humor and wit is always matters to me. If I can't laugh, I feel very miserable when I'm painting in the studio. I feel I need to have that humor all the time around. So there was an exhibition in Delhi called Kitsch Kitsch Hota Hai. It was about the celebration of element of kitsch, popular, garish, in work of art. And I painted 3 pictures, and it was called Tombs Day. And they were painted on laminates, formica, sunmica kind of surface, where you see the playing cards being displayed in the background, which were already existing when I bought the laminates. And around that I kind of created. So I also have this habit of, when the people come from the delegates or some statesman or a great president, prime minister to India, and then they go to Taj and see Taj Mahal. So next day there's a picture of them, so I cut and keep it, in my archive. Just like I enjoy looking at them. So this is President Putin with his wife in front of Taj. This is President Clinton with his daughter Chelsea. And here is magician P.C. Sarkar from Bengal, who had created a magic where for a few moments Taj had vanished. So this is called Tombs Day. And yeah, this is how it looked. So altogether it's 12 feet by 6 feet. I had a lot of fun doing this. They were painted with enamel paints on laminates. Yeah, then I did a series of, I have done, many works on roller shutters, the actual real size shutters of shop shutters, 9 feet by 6 feet. And I'm not showing all, of course, but few. This is one of the early work, which of course, there were reasons, to do shutters and all. Now I'm again not going to the why I painted on shutter. Of course, as I said, the riots and violence and all we saw, shops were burnt, and the shutter would go down during the curfew. All these things were there in the background. So I painted this outright calendar image of Mahalakshmi, the goddess. And when you open the shutter, you have another image. There is no room inside, but it's a flat canvas hanging like a scroll. And you see this very dark, horrifying image of 3 sisters, Sahu sisters from Kanpur. I think it was 1988 when they hanged themselves because the father was a school teacher and he could not afford dowry. So it's very much like a newspaper headline kind of a work. It's about how when girl child is born in a Hindu family, we call it Lakshmi. Lakshmi has come. She will bring prosperity, happiness, and um, well-being and all that. But for same Lakshmi, for same money, this girl had to kill themselves. So, and you see, when the shutter goes up, it's I invite viewer to throw it up and pull it down. So, so the experience is, is of you have to use your body, your muscles, not just with your eyes, but you throw it up, pull it, and when you throw it up and pull it down, there is an industrial sound when it hits the surface of the spring, the shutter. There is a noise, and here the smiling, colorful face of goddess remains on the hood, but very shocking image which you confront. Yes, then there was a series of paintings I did in between 2003 to 7, and it was it was called Saptapadi, scenes from marriage, regardless, and there were 24 paintings painted on laminates, and it was about the love and joy and sorrow of married life. So I had chosen images of those kinds, and here is a painting called Devi and the Sink. Devi and Singh, Shri Devi and Anil Kapoor from one of their films. This is called Couple with Coffee Pot. You see the Tom and Jerry, the cartoon images on the background, which were already existing when I bought the laminates from the timber merchant. And then on top of it, I painted the image of Mr. and Mrs. Clinton. This is also from the same series. It's called Aarti, and this is well-known Bengali actress Madhuri Mukherjee from Satyajit Ray's film called Mahanagar, the big city. And there are 3 paintings which I painted of this Satyajit Ray films where Madhuri Mukherjee acted, and all the 3 films were dealing strongly about the marriage in a certain way. This is called Charulata from Charulata film. And you see 3 other actresses, Vijit Bardo from Godard's Content. Then there is a Liv Ullmann on the right from Scenes from Marriage by Bergman, and Jane Morrow in the center in black and white from La Notte, the Night by Michelangelo Antonioni. All those beautiful, great 4 actors put together in one picture plane, with all the 4 movies which I mentioned are about dealing strongly about marriage. If you have not seen these movies, you must see it. This is the 3rd one called Karuna from a film called Kapurush, Coward and Holy Man. There are 2 films in one film, and this is from Coward. Same actress. Yeah, then I am jumping straight to something very different which I had not attempted earlier. Of course, I have done works with cabinets which were done much earlier than this specific work which I'm showing. But I thought, probably it was I was invited into a private house in Bombay to create a work, and um, so as you entered the house, I was given a as the entrance itself, with a lobby, long lobby and the wall. And what I did is, as you confront this particular text, which is of course from 12th century Bachana poet called Allama Prabhu in Kannada, but this is English translation by A.K. Ramanujan. And next to it is, you see that marble temples, shrine lit with LED lights, and there were objects and photographs I had kept. And the work is called Between Heaven and Earth. some details. Yes, then our text I have been using a lot in my painting as well, and I am very fond of font and the way things are written. You saw my father's letter; it started with that. Then I did a series of painting called Antler Anthology. I have not shown you those images; they were watercolors, large about the Gujarati poems were rendered, modern contemporary Gujarati poems. But this is a text which was written originally in Gujarati as a fiction piece by um, one of the most important poets of modern time in Gujarati called Lap Shankar Thakur from Ahmedabad. Unfortunately, is no more, but I took the Gujarati text and asked friends to translate it into English, and they were painted like as if it's written on a blackboard and on canvas. So there's a young boy called Bako, and Bako is a nickname for a young boy, and he and Gandhi, they both meet each other in their sleep, and they are having a kind of a free, fantastic dialogue. It nothing to do with the freedom movement, and I love that text very much. So I painted the uh, quite a few. There were some more than 10 paintings of a large scale, as if they are blackboards, and very interesting, text. Yes, and in the same show, I had 9 wooden cabinets, which had a lot of objects and paintings and photographs and found objects, etc., sculptures, which I created. And on the top, you see a lot of photographs also. And this, I would say, kind of autobiographical work for myself. About you will see on and off the young boy, seen into the, either on the photograph or inside somewhere. And this is the work which is called meditation with open eyes. Some details of from those cabinets, full cabinets and inside things. One of the canvas which was rendered and kept inside. It's written, this text is by Jasper Johns, one of the major important American artists of our time, and also my favorite painter. So to be an artist, you have to give up everything, including the desire to be a good artist. So this is what Jasper Johns had said, and I thought I would like to have it in the cabinet. Yes, now I'm particularly showing you, some works which are about the city of Mumbai, and also I thought of showing you people mainly because this series of paintings called 14 Stations, which were created for an exhibition called Cinema City. It was curated by filmmaker Madhushri Datta, and one of the first meetings happened in your college. So I was sitting in one of the rooms when people were sharing their ideas of what the show will be about, etc., etc. We kind of I conceived while sitting there. Okay, I'm going to have station signs and the villains from Bollywood. So from my home, from Ghatkopar to VT, there are 13 stations, and I added 14th as well, with my name. And I painted, the villains, very amazing characters from, Hindi cinema, particularly from, I mean, 50s and 60s and 70s. Of course, now we don't have this kind of villain. So there is a Pran, who is my favorite villain. I painted him on the station Ghatkopar. Amjad Khan from Sholay, and of course I didn't show you the all 14 works, but just to have a. But along with you see this, there is Amjad Khan and the villain from Bollywood. CST is written in Urdu, in Hindi, in English, but there is also Robert Motherwell, one of my favorite American abstract painters, called, and his work, he did a series of paintings called Elegy to Spanish Republic. And, during the Spanish Civil War, what happened? It was, of course, he did it in 50s and 60s, but I love that series. So without hesitation, I kind of, I visualize, and when it comes to my head or mind, I just do it, and um, it creates a complex visual, it's an engaging visual, I feel. Yes, and then I'm showing you some other shutters which were done in around 2012. This one is called Grace, Gandhi tending a calf, and you see the four different ashram, Sabarmati, Wardha, and other places of Gandhi on the top. It's again 9 feet by 6 feet, roller shutter. This is called Nirbhay. Gandhi with his, gurus, as he called them, Ruskin and Tolstoy and Srimad Rajchandra and Gokhale, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and young barrister Gandhi when he went to study. A fearless man. Yes, then I did around 2014, I did this series called Mahatma and the Masters. I felt that, when this was happening, India's freedom fight was going on. From Gandhi came in 1915 from South Africa, and till 47. I mean, during this period, there was a struggle for freedom of a nation. Exactly during that time, I thought what was happening in art world, say in Paris, the freedom for a new language and the way they were fighting, struggling with, new concepts and ideas. So I was interested in two aspects of freedom: nation's freedom and creative freedom. So I have been taking a lot of pictures in European Museum, American Museum when I'm traveling. And these were independently taken pictures, like this is Giacometti's sculpture, which I had taken, I think, in Zurich Museum. And I combine two different imagery, of course, but the Gandhi which you see is based on a photograph, which is actually oil painting. And the sculpture or painting here, as you see, is in oil paintings. The oil painting is in the form of photograph, and what is photograph? It is on the form of oil painting. So it's like also a reversal of the role of the medium. Painted photographs, paintings photographed, which I like very much, and totally not related to the thing, but I just kind of felt it has to be done that way. Marcel Duchamp's bicycle wheel, and Gandhi, René Magritte. Yes, then I had a very big show in 2014, December, um, in Bhaudaji Lad Museum in Bhaikala here in Bombay, where the zoo is, Rani Bagh is, and I was invited to kind of interact with the museum space, the artifacts and the collection of the museum, which is existing collection, and do something. And I thought that, you see, Uh, Museum, I'm interested in two aspects of the museum. The inside of the museum, what we see, what we experience, and outside the museum as well. Here, of course, it's beautiful that the zoo is just, it's a part of the zoo, the museum is, and but on the street, you see all kind of people selling, sharbat or vada pav. There's a one lady, old lady sits with her weighing scale to get your weight done. The people who come to the essentially to see the zoo with kids, they sometimes also visit the museum, and what they um, see, how they see. We create art for whom? I create art for whom? No doubt I create for myself to begin with, but then there's the immediate urgent need to share with them. So what kind of spaces we have? What is the role of our museums? Do we have sufficient museum? India is such a large country, but how many museums we have? What kind of a program and ideas they have to share with our people? Who comes to see the museum? The poor people come and then they catch a train and go to all the way to Ambernath or Dombivali or Virar or somewhere. And you see, I am exactly, I was thinking about all this and I saw a big exhibition called the Museums in 21st Century in Berlin. I think somewhere in 2008 probably. And I felt that all this strange and the sculptural pieces, as if that kind of architecture done in Europe, America, Australia, Japan, and what if we have, and I know very well that the museums in in Germany, France, or New York are so beautiful and so engaging. We feel so good and happy. People go with so much love and so much joy. Of course, you can't compare India with America or Germany, but our problems are different. We are a very poor country. We don't have that kind of money. Our people are poor. So I felt that when I saw the models of those museums, Frank Gehry, for example, the Bilbao and other buildings which he has created, it's like a mind blowing. I said, why can't our museums are be even humble, simple, but inviting, and why our people are not. As soon as the modern art comes, the visual art comes, they say, oh, we don't understand modern art. Even the rich people, educated people say that. So it was all about, so there is a question, there is no answer in the show. And I said, what if something like a Gary or some other kind of architect's contemporary work is placed in India, or if we create, like in those countries, even a small town would have an amazing foundation or a museum or something. What if we have, say, a MoMA in Rajkot? What will be the outside? So inside, outside of the museum, the structure of the museum. So it's like a lot of tongue-in-cheek sort of approach. There were 30 paintings of that kind. I'm showing you some 4 or 5 only here. This is called Mayurbhanj Museum. They were imperial size, 30 inch by 22 inch. It's called Guggenheim Gorakhpur. '21st Century Museum of Contemporary Art, Jumri Talaiya. This is the only museum where I took actually the Frank Gehry building into the as an image. Otherwise, I would add my own thing, taking someone's building structure and create a work. But they were all watercolors. Museum of Old and New Art, Amravati. Yes, so that was one aspect of my show in Bhawdaji Art Museum. And then there were large cabinets, 8 feet by 5 feet by 1.5 feet depth, lit from inside. And there were objects and photographs, sculptures, etc. Some models of architectural models I created, which again, it's mainly the real subject of this show. The show was called 7,000 Museums, a project for the Republic of India. And the real subject is a viewer. So some details from the cabinets. Of course, this is a Pablo Picasso's well-known statement, the way the artists imitate the great artist still. Yes, I think it's done. So, just a overall view about my approach and my interest, etc., which I sort of shared with you in this small time frame. Hope you liked it.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'd like to now invite Mansi to say a few words.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mansi, go ahead.
Okay. It's a pleasure, Atul bhai, to see. I mean, it's always pleasure to see you along with the work, speaking about the work. We both are from JJ, and when I came to Bombay first time, one name I was hearing is Atul Lodi. I've seen his work, and first I saw your work in Shah House. That's when I was the first work that I remember I saw was in Shah House. But speaking of that, I feel you were the first one who probably in Bombay scene in India, you were the one who started the images, the popular imageries, photographs, painting as photographs on the canvas. You know, and then making different collections, as you often say that we live in a lot of different eras. So one era has a lot of eras in it's many times in one time. And you make a space for that in your canvas by collecting all these photographs, the memories with it, and the images, and you paint them as photographs. Um, and the later works that I see in your drawings mainly, I don't know if they are different, but they are more introvert spaces. So I'm just it's not my question, but I'm just curious that you know, these imageries, where the collection of these imageries all these years, you know,
Yeah.
and now when you look at the time where there are constantly debating imageries, you know, in terms of its age, in terms of its loudness, in terms of its authenticity, in terms of the information also. So how do you, as a painter, what it means, and how do you settle with these collection of imageries, and what it means to collect also in this time, and to use them in today's context, you know, like how you see yourself in that practice?
Right. I think it's just a sheer, passion and urge to kind of grab everything simultaneously, and probably it's just that. And also, one thing we should not forget, that also I was able to transform them in my medium, whether it's cabinet, whether it's a shutter, whether it's a watercolor or thing. So certain skill might be, of course, skill is not a very good word, and nothing. I mean, if someone is skillful, doesn't mean it's a virtue or anything. But
Yeah.
I essentially, I feel that, I felt that what am I doing is something which, I want to do it for myself, but there is a responses which matters, the response of people. That means sharing, showing. I never thought, I was born and brought up in a chawl. And in where no people were like a very lower middle class people. Someone was announcer in a railway station, and someone was a cashier in municipality office or something like that, and they had no clue about modern art, contemporary art. But I never thought that they won't understand. It is only the South people living in South Bombay and those who come to the openings of the art gallery openings, only they can understand. I never felt that. So when I talked to my mother about my painting, or while showing her a Tayyab Mehta painting, I would not judge her. That she won't understand. You have to talk to some critique or art connoisseur. No, so that is one thing. And what happened that when I was painting in the veranda, because we were seven siblings, five sisters and two brothers. I have one brother, two brothers, and it's a small house. So I would paint in veranda, and my neighbors would see me. So from early realism till the shutters and other things I did. Of course, now I moved to another studio, but those days I used to paint in veranda. So they saw me develop, and because they saw me painting and creating all kind of art, they also got developed, and they never said that we don't understand what you are doing. So I think this in of course each individual artist is different. Like Gaitonde, a great abstract painter who was very recluse. He was completely recluse, and he would not say a single word about his work. That is one type of artist. But then there are artists like myself whom like to talk and share and kind of create uh, space for the viewer, and which I feel it's my responsibility to have all these things. I can't afford not to tell people what is all about, why I'm doing this, and I should create a work where I should at least able to um, uh, you know um, bring them into my work to begin with. Like they should be pulled and they should be curious and interested, and then gradually all the variety of complexities which I can play around. But I should have something where that which they could kind of relate. So so that is one background, I would say. And then it's yeah, I because I like all kind of arts. Like I would say rangolis, I would say greeting cards, I would say calendar, I would say cinema posters, I would say photography, I would see advertisement, typography, architecture, literature, cinema. So I think that it's probably this theater. And as a young boy, I've seen a lot of good stuff, in theater and cinema. So I think probably all this diverse thing, and then the world art. I mean, that's something quite quite an area. When I say world art, it means from pre-Renaissance onwards, prehistoric probably till today. Medieval period in Europe, our own ancient art, our own miniatures. I think it just so there is no time for other things. You just kind of engage with all these things, and then somehow this biggest computer is this. Everything is stored here, and then kind of right time, right moment comes out, and memory plays a major role here. I remember, I don't forget things. So I think so as soon as I see something, when I see sunflower, real sunflowers, I'm reminded immediately of, say, Van Gogh sunflower. Okay, so probably, then what to do with Van Gogh sunflower? What if I include it in my totally something which has to do with my sister's illness or my father's letter? If I include, what will happen? It will kind of create a conflict, and but that makes that's how my mind is, full of diverse things, full of complexities, full of things. With the life we live, imagine, I mean, the way people lost their lives, people lose their, overnight shop is burned and no business. I'm happy in my home and with my family, but migrants in recent time walking for miles, where they are going, How will they come back? Will they get their job? I mean, it's very painful. So I think probably because of that, then you think of Gandhi, and you think of what's the meaning of life. Suddenly, someone passes away, someone loses sight, someone falls into a kind of a severe illness, many things. So I think, yeah, it's quite complex and combined.
Complexity.
Yeah.
So should we open it to students?
Yes, let's go with some of the questions that have been posted. The one student says, your work uses so many references in your work. What if the audience doesn't know about the references? They miss so much. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, it's interesting. I think if they don't know the reference, they are so lucky. They should not know the reference. Reference is only for myself. I created because I thought of, say, sunflowers when I saw, and I thought of Van Gogh. And if someone doesn't know Van Gogh, how they will see? What if someone doesn't know Gandhi at all? How will they see? They will see why this artist is painting old men. They will see that. So I think, yeah, that question remains. And I tell you one thing, very important thing. I tell you, it's what viewer sees is exactly what they want to see. They don't see what you are showing. It's like this, that say when I'm looking out of window, someone might see a building, someone might see a sky, and someone might see a tree. You follow? So I think reference doesn't. If you like, say, if I tell you, okay, this is Picasso, and Picasso was a Spanish painter. He lived in France. He created modern art. You think that means you understood the painting? No way, not at all. Seeing is one thing, experiencing is one thing, and knowledge is not something very very special thing for me. Knowledge, what Google give you everything today. So if you don't know the context, then you see differently. Because we know this is tree. What if someone is seeing tree for the first time? What will happen? What if all the names are taken off from the objects which we know? The functions of those objects. Then how will you see this world? So partly I understand your question that if you don't know this that, but as I say, what if you don't know Gandhi? Actually, I have met a person, you won't believe, who didn't know Gandhi, an Indian, actually. Anyway, that's another story. But the thing is that so that's not a issue. How you saw? Why you see a man from the back in my last slide, where the statement by Picasso, which is crossed by Banksy, a graphic artist from England, a graffiti artist, and whom we don't know how he looks and all. And he says the bad artist imitate, the great artist steal. In front of it, there is a kind of a folkish figure, of a man holding something. Is he a thief? Am I a thief? So you have to kind of, the way you have been given, take it and create your own imagination. You don't have to, follow what artist is saying or art critic is saying or what is the note written next to the work. Don't read. Never. Don't go to those kind of ideas and concepts. It's fine. You should do that. Because today it's available. But you know what? When I mentioned about the English artist David Hockney. So when I passed out, I came across a book by him called David Hockney by David Hockney. It's written about his own life story and his art and his work and all. He starts by saying a statement by another British artist from earlier generation called Sickert, Walter Sickert. And Sickert says that And he starts like that. The book starts, David Hockney starts like this. He says that it is a very good advice to believe what an artist does rather than what he says about his work. So what artist has to say is one thing. Where the artist, the source of information, source of references, and comes is one thing. But what has actually happened on that canvas? Also, state of mind matters by looking at a work of art. If someone is down with solid fever, you take that person into museum, how that person will see. Someone is very happy, healthy, and in a good spirit, he will see it slightly differently. So it's all no need to have the reference or quotations. Sometimes it's a homage, sometimes it's a reference, sometimes commenting on something else. Like you have to know probably what Mahalakshmi means, to understand the bleak portrait of the three sisters. That's agreed. But you can see that, okay, the face is, one may not know the goddess, but one may say it's a divine face, it's a glorious face, it's a healthy, happy woman's face. And that compared to that, the black and white image is dark. If you can make out that much, you have got it. Any other question?
Yeah, we'll just take one more question because we're running out of time actually. So it says some of your paintings are quite a lot like photographs, and some even have imagery like a collage of different photographs. And a lot of modern digital art has a basis on using photographs in ways that you have used. What do you think of such works in terms of their relationship to art forms like painting?
Well, actually, because they are they are rendered, they are painted in oil painting. So to kind of achieve the flatness, when you say photograph, meaning what exactly you mean? Because you see, the photograph is also an object. It's a thin sheet, which has an image on it. An image could have a depth and all that thing, the way painting has. So when you transform it, sometimes I would take it as a kind of a source of material to create a completely depth of field in my own new imagery. Sometimes I use it as if that I'm aware that I'm using a photograph. I'm painting photograph. So the flatness of photograph. You see, in reality, when you see something, it's not flat. Okay, by the way, the image on mobile screen, the image on computer screen, the image on cinema screen, and the image in reality, what you see, all are four different experience. So I think, yeah, whatever is available, and whatever clicks and whatever kind of inspires, whatever kind of encourages me to. Or whatever I see the potential of creating a new experience that belongs to me. That's mine. That's it. Whether it's on the internet, whether it's on a digital media, whether it's on a newspaper, or whether it's a Rangoli, my sister must have done it during Diwali, whatever. One should allow.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a lovely encounter, and I'm pretty sure it was very informative for everybody else. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.